Hi there. Lately I've been seeing a lot of social media talking about the safety of the COVID vaccine, as well as how effective it is. In these uncertain times, I can see why an isolated incident reported about someone who died after being given the vaccine, or someone who had the vaccine and still got sick, how this could cause great concern and perhaps even panic. That being said, we do need to understand the difference between hazard and risk. A hazard is anything that can cause you harm. Getting COVID is a hazard. Side effects from the vaccination is a hazard. However, driving is also a hazard. Taking any strong medicine is a hazard. Standing outside in the hot sun, these are all hazards. Risk, however, is the probability of something bad happening. So despite the fact that driving is a hazard, the chances of getting into a harmful accident is small enough that most of us view this as an acceptable risk. Similarly, most people take drugs without really giving a second thought about whether or not there's a potential dangerous side effect, which there always is. We don't worry because regulatory bodies such as the Food and Drug Administration ensure that the chances of such an event happening is sufficiently rare. In other words, they ensure that the risk is small. Now let's talk about the social media describing a person being given the vaccine and still getting sick. Let's suppose you did your due diligence, checking the source as well as the credentials of the person making the claim, and it is a legitimate incident. So, should this be a cause for alarm? Well, no scientist ever claimed that the vaccine would give you 100% protection against COVID. In fact, if you look at the paper on the Pfizer vaccine published in the New England Journal of Medicine, you are 95%, not 100%, but 95% less likely to get COVID with the vaccine than not having the vaccine. So yes, you will expect a small number of people to still get sick. That is to be expected and not something to be alarmed or frightened of. What is frightening even more people, however, are the social media claims that those who were given the vaccine either had serious side effects or even died. As mentioned, a severe reaction to the vaccine is definitely a hazard, just as it is for any medicine or vaccine. But let's look at the risk in perspective. Here's an article from the Economic Times. Note that they are investigating 10 deaths. However, if you read further in their article, you'll note that this is based on 842,000 people getting the vaccine. Note also that the article states that the deceased were between 79 and 93 years old, all who were already in extremely grave conditions, and that they believe that they actually died from their main diseases and not from the vaccination. Let's look at the Pfizer paper again. Of the 43,252 participants, half who received the vaccine and half who received a placebo, no deaths were attributed to the vaccinations. In fact, of the 6 deaths that happened shortly after the vaccination, 4 were from the placebo test group as opposed to 2 from the vaccinated test group. As you can also see from the journal paper, none of the deaths were attributed to the vaccine but to other underlying conditions. We can take a look at what sort of risk we were talking about based on these papers. If we look at the situation in Germany, we have 842,000 vaccinations, and they are looking at 10 possible fatalities. Again, keep in mind that these are all elderly, from 79 to 83-year-old seniors with pre-existing conditions. They haven't determined that they actually died from the vaccination, but let's look at the absolute worst case scenario and assume that these deaths were indeed due to the vaccination. This gives a risk of 10 in 842,000 or 1 in 84,200. This means that you'll get 1 death out of every 84,200 vaccinations. Does this risk outweigh the benefits of getting vaccinated, as well as the benefits to society in general? Well, let's compare the vaccination risk to other risks that you encounter every day in your day-to-day living. Now, here's the data from the website injuryfacts.nsc.org, taken from the National Center for Health Statistics and compiled by the National Safety Council in the US. Note that the risk from dying from sunstroke in your lifetime is 1 in 7,770. You are 11 times more likely to die from sunstroke than from the vaccination. If you look at the statistics for the bicyclist, you are over 20 times more likely to die riding your bike. In fact, you are 30 times more likely to die from choking on food. So, if you are fearful of dying from the vaccination, then to be logically consistent based on risk, you really should stop going out into the sun, stop riding your bike, and start to eat only mushed up baby food to prevent choking. Now, I know many of you are trying to figure out if you should get vaccinated with all the real and fake information floating around out there. I hope this little video has helped you put everything in perspective by explaining the difference between hazard and risk. Of course, at the end of the day, everyone has to look at the numbers and make a decision for themselves based on the risk. I hope this video has given you the information you need to make an educated and informed decision. You can also click on the bottom left at the end of this video to check out the first video in this series on how to research using Google Scholar and avoid being fooled by fake news. The music in the background is a song called Your Mysterious Ways from the album Grasping for Hope in the Darkness. This is a song that is quite appropriate for us as we're living through these troubling and uncertain times. Please consider going to our website, www.criticalmassmusic.org, to have a listen. While you are there, consider becoming a patron. I'll be creating not only music videos, but also there are exclusive concert videos, sneak peek at upcoming videos, story behind the song videos, as well as our life hacks with Critical Mass videos, where I will give you tips on how to live your life abundantly. Thanks as well to our patron subscribers who helped make this video possible. Take care and God bless.